Hello there, my name's Moldy, and a couple days ago now I built the TIE Avenger I attempted to build the TIE Avenger from the brand new Andor trailer. So hyped for that season, but it doesn't quite look like the TIE Avenger, at least not as good as we want to do here on the channel, which you did point out, and I am going to revisit this. But I thought instead of just making another video on the same TIE that I've already done, let's build 12 different TIE variants using only 2 Lego sets. Last year we built, I think it was one of the first MOCs last year, we built Vader's Advanced TIE using the TIE Bomber playset, which at the time was new. And since then we haven't got a sole TIE set. We've got a TIE Interceptor with a Fang Fighter, we've got a TIE Fighter with an X-Wing from Rebuild the Galaxy with swappable wings, which we have again revisited with some of these older sets. But for those of you that perhaps haven't picked up either of those sets and have the old TIE Fighter from a few years back, this is what I've used to rebuild this TIE Avenger, and we're going to be swapping parts between these two sets, and there will be a little cameo from the 2012 TIE Fighter, but to be honest with you, that's just because I don't fancy breaking this down and rebuilding it every time we need a pair of TIE Fighter wings. So we're going to be nicking the TIE Fighter wings from this build, but you already know if you picked up this set, it originally was a TIE Fighter and it wasn't too far off minifigure scale, which this old 2012 set is almost perfectly 145 minifigure scale, which is the preferred minifigure scale here on the channel. But we're not going to be building 12 TIE Fighters, we're only going to be building 10. Because you've seen the TIE Fighter, you've seen the TIE Bomber, they're official Lego sets. So I felt we should just get straight into it with the first model. We have the TIE Avenger here. Well, we don't have the TIE Avenger. This is TIE Avenger wings, which are quite literally interceptor wings back to front. That's kind of what a TIE Avenger is. If you really wanted to be a little more detailed, there's a little divot in the wings here, but with the Lego pieces from the set, there's no chance of recreating that. But the TIE Fighter cockpit really isn't accurate to this build. I mention it in my trailer breakdown. We get a view of Andor in this TIE, which, by the way, has so much room in it. It looks like it's even got a little desk and a computer in the back so he can, I don't know, edit some of the show whilst he's flying around in the TIE. I bet Vader wishes he had that much space in his ship. The cockpit is much bigger than a regular TIE Fighter, and we've just got a special look at Andor, which shows us there are some stairs built into the bottom of it, which I'm going to have to build a massive one. Perhaps this is the TIE Fighter we build at 5k subs. So I'm instead going to be taking the cockpit from Vader's TIE Advance, which the TIE Avenger is one of the many prototypes that eventually builds up to Vader's TIE Advance. So we don't need the bomber wings on this cockpit. Perhaps Vader's TIE should also have a little set of stairs that just flicks down. Maybe all of these TIEs should have some set of stairs so that you're able to get in the cockpit and put in the TIE Avenger wings. It really is as easy as just swapping the wings around with any of these TIE models, and that does include the old 2012 fighter. We do need to make sure there are all 3 pins in these wings, otherwise we're going to have some special modified TIE Fighter, which most of these modified TIE Fighters actually come from the TIE Fighter game. I have some gameplay of me playing it later on the screen because I really need to get back into some of those old classic Star Wars games. And a lot of these are going to look a little wacky if you haven't seen them before. But as you can see, not only does this probably bring the model in a little bit tighter, which again adds to the length of this build. We don't know exact measurements. I've just gone with my best mathematical guess. And as for the fins on the back, which we don't see in the trailer, there are some sort of opening that could have fins pop out. We are going to have to wait until we see this thing flying around on the screen. But if you do want to remove them and build them yourself, I will have instructions for this very model up on Rebrickable and my own website very, very soon. We're going through some problems with studios, so there are a few instructions I know you're still waiting for, but I promise you they are all very much on their way. Well, we're a few minutes into the video now and we've only built one TIE Fighter. So to go with this, which I do prefer standing it up just like so, so that it looks like the Star Forge, is it, from KOTOR. So hyped for the show coming out on that. If you want more information on that, I do have a video talking about every single Star Wars project in the work and what I'm hoping to get news on for Star Wars Celebration. But by putting the regular TIE Fighter cockpit with the TIE Bomber wings. Many of you did point out from the front, and especially this angle that I posted on my community page, it looks like Vader's TIE Advance, or at least one of the TIE Advance prototypes. But one of you commented a name that I think has stuck with me throughout all of the other suggestions, TIE Annihilator. I think that works so well with this, and to be a run-up to the TIE Advance, I think the Annihilator does make quite some sense. Perhaps they run some tests on this and it absolutely annihilated the competition. So our second TIE is actually the TIE Annihilator voted by you. In fact, whilst we have the TIE Annihilator built, I do want to show you a model that LEGO themselves have built not just once, but at least twice on two separate occasions. If you fold up the wings of this TIE Annihilator or TIE Advanced prototype, which it does look a lot like if you want to go with a more canon answer, here we have the TIE Tank or the TIE Crawler. I do have a list, so I know the official names of all of these, and this is a tank. This actually goes along and is a land-based. I think there was also some sort of TIE Fighter boat as well, somewhere in Legends. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. This is pretty accurate. All we're missing is a few treads around these wings here, and this thing can just be dropped and destroy anything in its path. I don't think these were too successful, and for that reason, I don't think we're going to see them in canon anytime soon. But I think it's fun to see all of the different TIE fighters that not only Lucasfilm, but the Empire were actually playing around with and made it into some Legend story in comics, in games, somewhere, bringing it into the expanded universe. Going back to the TIE Avenger for a second, if we do remove the back wings here, like many of you have said, it is a TIE Interceptor, which is our fourth model. TIE Fighter, TIE Bomber, Vader's Advance, TIE Crawler, TIE Interceptor, TIE Avenger. I think we've done a few more than 4 by now. If we take the TIE Avenger wings off Vader's cockpit, and this is why I've got the 2012 TIE Fighter, because in this scenario we would want to rebuild the regular TIE Fighter wings. But to save time, I might as well use ones I've already got. We now have the TIE Experimental, which if you have played the TIE Fighter games, you'll know exactly what I mean. The TIE Advance, technically they have a massive engine just taped onto the back with TIE Fighter wings, and this does look like a really cool fighter, but would have been so expensive for the Empire to mass produce, and I'm thankful for the Rebels' sake that the Empire didn't have unlimited funds. Otherwise they really would have had unlimited power. The next one is a real treat. By positioning the two cockpits, any two cockpits next to each other, and the bomber wings pointing outwards in this concave fashion, we now have the TIE Shuttle. I think this one is going to be my favorite of the video. It looks so cool, and displaying this with all your other TIE fighters is going to really improve the display. Because there's no landing gear on this one, it does flatten the wings a little bit if you try to display it flat on a shelf. Oh, I've got it. No. We have technically also seen variations of the TIE Shuttle with just one cockpit. I think this was from a long lost comic. So because it is a different ship in the Star Wars universe, I do have to include this as a separate build, but don't worry, out of all 12, this is the only one that is so close to another build. If you don't own any of the Rogue One sets, which I'm looking at parting out for future streams here on the channel, if you didn't know, we go live every Saturday, and over the next couple of months, we've got a load more live streams coming your way. Then you won't have picked up the TIE Striker. And if you do want to have an easy TIE Striker to display and are not worried about any little bits sticking out, which you can use as displays, chop off the back of the wings for the TIE Avenger, and there you go. You have your really, really easy to build TIE Striker, or as Wikipedia calls it, the TIE/SK X1 Experimental Air Superiority Fighter. Yeah, Striker's a lot easier to roll off the tongue. Last but not least, for our 12th and final custom TIE Fighter using only these two sets, and for display purposes, the 2012 version, we are going to want the TIE cockpit from the TIE Striker without the Avenger wing, and one bomber wing for the TIE Torpedo Bomber, which is just simply one cockpit. Let's flip it round the other way. One cockpit and a TIE Bomber wing, which definitely looks like more of a glider. We need the cockpit the right way round. TIE pilots can barely see as it is. We can't be having them looking backwards. And this is the TIE/SA Tactical Bomber, as of Wikipedia, and does look pretty cool. But thanks to ships like the Striker that are very similar in fashion, I don't think we'll be seeing this one on our screens anytime soon. Let me know, out of all 12, we'll include the Bomber and the TIE Fighter. Perhaps those are your favourites. Which one you prefer down in the comments. And thank you so much for sticking through this video. I just wanted to show you, without many cuts, if any, how easy it was to piece together so many different TIE variations with the sets already built, because I could rebuild these from the ground up and they might look a little bit better, but that is quite complicated work, and usually with the effort that goes into it, these instructions do end up costing. So for completely free, you can build 12 different, I guess you do need the TIE Avenger instructions, but almost completely free, you can build 12 different models of TIE fighters. Most of these, as you can see, this one specifically, can be built without any instructions. Give it a go, see which TIEs you can make, and if there are other combinations I've missed out, let me know down in the comments. And perhaps before long, with enough TIE fighters released, we could do a 50-in-1 next time we get a TIE fighter set. That will be really fun to do. Thank you so much for making it through to the end of the video. Stay tuned. You might have noticed the 3D printer has been on for this entire video. I have a few upgrades to my Lego display, and until then, may the bricks be with you always.